I think this is a very important topic. I know it sounds very nebulous when you talk about mindset, but it's something that's so crucial to investing. Um, I used to think this is all fluff, but honestly, man, this is the game changer when you're talking about investing your money. And I'm going to be, talking about, for people who are here, I'm going to be talking about some really cool stuff that I have imbibed over the last few years through all the reading, coaching that I've gone through. And I want to share it all with you guys. Oh, look at that.
Let's see. Yeah, I'm seeing some new names in here I haven't seen before. Let's see. Belinda, Irvin. I don't think I've met you before. Welcome, welcome. Is this your guys' first time joining an MFC call? You can reply in the chat or just you can go off mute for now while we're getting started here. All right, we're about 5 minutes after Avishkar. I think we
Let's start. Yep, I think we should start.
I'm going to record.
It's already recording. Let's just start the screen share. And I think we can start.
That isn't the right screen.
Oh, that's not the right screen. Yep. All right, there we go. Perfect.
Take it away.
Well, welcome everyone. Welcome. I am Avishkar Sabhawal, and I have with me Drew. He's my partner. We're the Armada team. So we're gonna, talk about how to think about money. And really, that's where the journey starts when you talk about investing. It starts with your mindset. So we're going to dive into some very key concepts, and I want to keep it a little interactive in the sense I'm going to ask you some questions, and I want you guys to think about it and then reply in the chat, just so that that's the way you'll be able to imbibe these ideas or inculcate it and kind of think about them so that you become better investors. Drew, let's move on. So we've already talked about, me and Drew, we're partners, we are Armada. Let's move on to the next slide, Drew. All right, we have to start with a disclaimer. We're not attorneys, we're not financial advisors, we're not tax advisors. This is only for information. Please make any investment decisions, after consulting your own specialists. We're not giving any investment advice over here. All right, so go back one slide. Yeah, so let's talk about what really money is. Money, the way I view money is that it's a measure of value that you deliver to the society. A lot of times we talk about earning XYZ amount of dollars, and you see these people saying, oh, I can make you earn 6 figures, 7 figures. But really, I think if you go a level deeper, you got to view money as how are you delivering value to society, right? The more value that you can deliver to the society, the more you'll be reimbursed. And the way we reimburse is in terms of money, right? So for example, and this was, I was going through a book some time ago called How Billionaires Think. And there was this concept that they were talking about, and it completely changed the way I thought about how, we think about things. So there was this mention of the fact that, why does a CEO earn more money than somebody who's working, say, a W-2 or, who's under the CEO? And especially for me as a physician, this was a very, very different eye-opening experience or eye-opening thought that was discussed, because I work really hard as a physician, right? And all this while, the idea was us versus them, and what do they know? I'm in the trenches taking care of these patients, whereas the CEO is just sitting in the C-suite. But then if you think about how value is delivered, my impact overall in the society, even though it's a great impact that I'm having, but I'm only able to impact a few lives. Whereas a CEO he or she's impacting the entire system where I'm working, and many people like me are working. So the impact is much, much more. And so, because the impact is much more, the value delivered to society is much more, the reimbursement is higher. So it's important to understand when you talk about money, it's not about what you can gain, but what you can give to the society, what you can give to people which they will value and cherish. So when you start thinking about money in terms of value delivered, it changes the game completely, because all of a sudden, your mindset, instead of being what can I get, it goes to what can I give. And that's where the difference is, right? And really, why do we want money? It's basically, what money does is, you can look at the quote, it's the ability to do what you want, when you want, with who you want, basically the freedoms that you want, as long as you want to do, is priceless. And that's what we're earning money for, right? That's what money buys us, is these freedoms. So that's what we're trying to attain. And almost everybody is trying to attain this. But the way you attain it is by giving value in one way or the other to society. Let's move on, Drew. All right. What is wealth? So now we talked about money. So money is what you earn, right? What the value that you've given. But what is wealth? Wealth is sort of slightly different from money. Money helps you get to wealth, but wealth really is, assets that will earn you money while you're sleeping. So for example, real estate, for example, your stock market, for example, private equity, all of these assets actually earn you money while you sleep. And because, you earn money while you sleep, you're constantly generating, it's independent of the effort that you're putting in. So you have to put in effort at one point in time, but then you keep getting the recurring benefits from it. And that really is wealth. Let's move on. Next slide, Drew. All right. This is, there's a book called The Infinite Game by Simon Sinek. And I would encourage people to read this, really, because it changes the way that you look at business, that we look at business. And, what he talks about is two types of games. I don't know if people have, read his book, not read his book. And I would love to know your thoughts on this as well. So please comment in the chat once we talk about this. So he basically says there are two types of games. There are the finite games. They have a beginning and they have an end. And there are these infinite games. And business is an infinite game. A lot of times when we're playing these games, we are playing. So when we're talking about real estate, or we're talking about investing, that's sort of an infinite game, because it existed before our existence and it'll exist after our existence. It's an infinite. There's no beginning. There's no end. The rules are not concrete. You have a broad array of sort of, some rules that guide, or I would say there would be some guiding principles, but there are no clear-cut rules. It's not like a game of chess that there's a clear beginning, there's a clear end, there are certain rules that you have to follow, and that's it. It's these rules are just guiding principles, and there's a lot of freedom in what you do. So obviously, if you're playing an infinite game, the rules are going to be different. The way you play this game is going to be different. And what happens is, if you play an infinite game to win the game, there is no winning, because the game is infinite. You're looking at a finite horizon, you're looking at finite goals. So the idea that the end is winning is actually a moot point, because there is no winning. What is important is playing the game and staying in the game till however long you can. And when you change that mindset of how long are you going to play this game just to play the game, not necessarily win, because there is no winning, right? You cannot say that I'm a leader in XYZ industry. Well, that's an incomplete statement, because when are you the leader? How long were you the leader? What time frame were you using? What metrics were you using? Are they the industry standard metrics? And when you look at these concepts, it becomes clear that these are just arbitrary titles and arbitrary things that people make up in the game of business. which essentially is an infinite game. I would love to hear your thoughts. Why don't you comment in the chat and see, just type yes if you agree and no if you don't agree with this statement. I would love to hear what you guys have to say. All right, we have a couple of yeses. I guess other people don't agree. 3 yeses, there we go. Amazing. Let's move on to the next slide, Drew. Oh, we have more comments coming in. All right. This slide, I would say, is going to be very, very important. And I want you guys to think about it, because whatever we do in business to scale, to grow, we require leverage. And leverage actually comes in 3 forms. It can come in the form of either capital, that's money. It can come in the form of people, or it can come in the form of certain products with little marginal cost of replication. And now this actually quote is from the Almanac of Naval Ravikant, and that's a phenomenal book. Again, I recommend everybody should read that book. Basically, this applies to a lot to businesses as well, because everything that's done in, especially in the tech world and wherever have you, they leverage either code, they leverage media. These are products that have marginal costs, especially in this day and age, like social media. There's no cost to actually posting on social media. But imagine you're just making a copy of yourself on social media that just sits there for people to consume. And that is a leverage that you're using to grow your business. But understanding that business will require leverage helps you categorize what leverage you want to use and when you want to use it. In real estate, we use all 3 leverages actually. We use capital when we're syndicating a deal. We need capital. We get investors. We get people because we're getting more investors involved. We're using the bank's money. That's the capital that's coming in. We're leveraging social media because if you're doing a 506C, that's what we do. We're leveraging social media to publicize what we are doing so that more people get interested in our offerings and come and invest with us and have fun with us. So in real estate, we're really using all 3 leverages at different points in time. And this is very important because a lot of times people are fearful of using, say, debt, or fearful of using leverage, or fearful of interacting with other people. But keep in mind that you need to use these leverages to really scale and really grow. Drew, next slide, please. All right. I was actually recording a podcast yesterday, and the host actually posted this question to me, like, what do you think is a differentiating factor? What do you think plays the biggest role in somebody's success? And had I not read this book called Psychology of Money, I would have said it's hard work and, you can basically outwork the other person. But after reading this, it made a lot of sense that it really, luck and risk play a very, very huge role in how you're going to succeed, what you're going to do in life, right? And I'll explain a little bit about luck and about risk. And there's a beautiful example given in the book about, how Bill Gates actually became Bill Gates. He was 1 in a million students at that time, high school students in America, who had access to a computer. So imagine if he did not have that access to that computer in his school, he would not have co-founded Microsoft. Actually, that book also mentions that there was one of his friends, very close buddies, would have actually gone on to be the co-founder of Microsoft with him, but he died in a mountaineering accident. Now, this guy was brilliant, but he died. So he did not even have that opportunity to go ahead and succeed to his fullest potential, right? So there's a lot of luck and a lot of risk involved in anything that you do, in any investing that you do. The way I look at it is that there are going to be certain factors that you can control and you must control, right? There's no shortcut. There's no sort of nothing that you can do to circumvent the hard work that you need to put in, the hours that you need to put in, the knowledge that you need to gain. There's no way you can circumvent that, right? But it's important to also understand that luck and risk will play a role in your investment journey, in your strategy. No matter what type of investment it is, no matter where you're investing. I mean, imagine 2008, so many people lost so many of their savings when they in their 401ks, right, after the crash. What they were saving all their lives. They thought they were doing a great thing, but for no fault of theirs, just sheer luck, they lost a lot of their savings. So understand that, these are factors that play into this, but how do you leverage this knowledge to your advantage? How do you do that? So you play games where you understand and appreciate that there's risk. So you take risks that are not as big such that they'll throw you out of the game completely, right? You take risks, it's just enough so that, if you get a moonshot or if you hit it big, you get a big reward. But if you actually lose money, it's tough luck, but you still have enough bandwidth to get back into the game and continue playing the game. Because the more games you play, the more number of times that you play these games, the chances of your success go much, much higher. Think about that for a little bit. What's coming up for you when you think about the impact of luck and risk? I know it's so commonly, it's commonly talked about the fact that you need to work hard and you need to do this. Again, I'm not saying you don't need to work hard. I think you really need to work hard and you really need to control things that are in your control, but also understand the fact that, luck plays a very, very big role in this as well. So I would really love to know what comes up for you when you're, when you think about luck and risk. Just you can comment in the chat to let us know what you think. And a lot of times, I'm asked these questions by investors. What's the risk? Will I lose my money? I was actually at a conference today, and somebody asked me that this as well. Oh, but isn't it more risky to invest in real estate than to invest in the stock market? I said, well, you know what? Actually, crossing the street is risky as well, but we don't think about that. I think there's risk in everything that you do in life. It's just our perception of risk is different. It's just what you perceive. And we perceive something is riskier when we have little or no knowledge about it. So knowledge is very important, but, risk is always going to be there. Let's move on, Drew, to the next slide. All right. Like I was saying, knowledge is really, really important. And I have to say, nobody is the end all be all to somebody's knowledge, right? Even billionaires have coaches, even billionaires go to people that are, at a level higher than them to learn from them. So you need to be a perpetual learner. You should always be learning. That's the only way to actually up your game. Even if you know certain techniques, certain strategies of putting in, even if you're the best at underwriting that, in your circle, but there are things that you may miss. And there might be somebody else who's better than you, but you don't know that. If you are, there's a saying that if you are the smartest person in the room, then you're in the wrong room. And I think that's so true, because it can be easy to pat yourself on the back and say that I'm doing great. And it is much more difficult to go into rooms where you feel stupid. But I think if you do that, that's where the real growth happens. And that's what I have done in my journey. I've been in rooms where I didn't know anything. Like, I started my journey with large multifamily. At some point, I had no idea about what large multifamily was. But I was in these rooms being uncomfortable and being okay with being uncomfortable, asking the stupid questions that people fear. So it's good to ask questions. It's good to learn. It's good to read so that you can be a better self. You can improve upon yourself, be a better version of yourself. And that's how you grow, whether it's in life and business, in relationships, and whatever you do. Next slide, Drew. Did we miss a slide? Yep. All right. So there is when we talk about acquisition, we talk about buying real estate, we talk about, investing, we're only talking about getting money. I think this again is from Psychology of Money. This is one book that has had a lot of impact on me. Getting money and keeping money are two fundamentally different concepts, right? For getting money, like we just talked about, you need to take some risks, right? You need to be able to take those risks, and you need to be able to come back from those risks. If you have bad luck, if you lose that investment that you made. But then keeping money is a completely different ballgame. For keeping money, you have to be risk averse. So you need to be, you basically need to be looking at safer forms of investment. And I'll tell you what people do a lot of times. For example, you look at institutional investors, you look at insurance companies. Their investment strategy is very different from a growth investor strategy, right? Insurance companies will invest their money in assets that have a much, much lower risk, because for them, it's about preservation of capital rather than growing with the hope of exponentially growing their portfolio. Even Warren Buffett, what he does is he keeps a lot of cash handy rather than putting it into multiple investments or whatever. He just puts his money into the right investments that he thinks are going to perform. So it's really about storing this money. So this is a quote from Warren Buffett: there's no reason to risk what you have and need for what you don't have and don't need, right? It can be very lucrative, that X, Y, and Z, for example, even with crypto, right? So many people earn such a lot of money, with crypto. But then if you follow that bandwagon and you invest in crypto, you lose the money. Firstly, if you had that money and you invested it just as it was your play money and you invested it, that's different. But if that was the money that you invested with the hopes of getting a massive return on it and retiring on that money, then, that's a fool's errand, because what's happening is you didn't need to do that. You were over leveraged with that, with the money that you didn't have. You took an exponential risk, and now you lose that money. What do you do from there? You're out of the game, right? So preserving capital is an art, and it becomes very difficult for us as investors, because we're always trying to invest, always trying to grow, but it's two sides of the scale. And you have to play that balancing act in your mind when you're talking about growth or, getting more money versus keeping the money that you have, having a war chest ready, so that you can deploy it and have some saved aside to actually, for your livelihood, for your daily, whatever you need in your daily life. Next slide. All right. We look at people, and especially on social media nowadays, right? They're just talking about, I did this in 3 years, and my portfolio is X, Y, and Z. And I can help you do this, and I can help you do that. But keep in mind, like I mentioned, you have to take those multiple shots. The history is much longer than that, right? You have to be taking those multiple shots, multiple attempts at getting what you're getting. The returns are usually asymmetric, right? Most of the investments that we make will either give us average or below average returns. The idea is to try and make as many attempts at investing as possible, because there are going to be a few investments that are going to be sort of the tailwinds that are going to really propel our investment forward, right? And so that's why take risks which are calculated, but at the same time understand that not every investment that you're going to make is going to actually perform. There are going to be a few that are going to really get you further ahead in the game. For example, Warren Buffett, actually, I was surprised that he has actually owned 400 to 500 stocks, but most of his wealth actually came from just 10 of them. So imagine the proportion that's there. It's a very small proportion of his stocks that actually got him most of his wealth. What's coming up for you guys when you think about this? I would love to know how you perceive, your investments in the past, and what are your thoughts on what you've done so far with your investments, and how do you feel now about investing after hearing that you need to have you need to invest so much because only very few of them will get you the tailwinds and get you the asymmetrical returns that you're looking for. That's true. Investing in time is, it's a big sacrifice and it does produce a very big gain. That is very true. Let's talk about compounding. And I think when you look at, I was very surprised with this. When you look at what happened to Warren Buffett's portfolio, it's very surprising. We're hardwired to think linearly, like the way our brain computes is in a very linear fashion. So we try to work harder to get something because we think, okay, well, maybe we put in more hours, then we're going to get, say, double the return, right? But compounding works completely differently. I mean, it really increases your returns exponentially, whether it's in relationships, whether it's in your knowledge, whether it's in wealth. Like you really, really expand your bandwidth exponentially because of compound interest. So time is going to be your friend in this, right? The longer you are in the game, towards the end, you're going to get much, much higher returns. And, there's another very famous syndicator. He's a physician. I know him well, Vikram Raya. Once he was talking about his journey in investing in real estate. And really, when you look at his trajectory, most of his gains were in the last 1 or 2 years, or maybe 3 years, when he was doing his presentation a few years ago for me. And it was very interesting. It was similar to this curve that we're seeing on the screen right now. And, similar for Warren Buffett, you can see most of his wealth. So, 84.5 billion is his net worth. Out of that, 81.5 billion came after his 65th birthday. He's in his 80s. He actually started investing very, very young. I think he started at the age of 10 or something. But just think about this. Even though he's been investing for almost 80 plus years, or maybe 70 plus years, most of his wealth was made in the last 10 or 15 years, right? 15, 20 years. So that's the power of compound interest, that he had to do that consistently, be okay with the rewards that were coming in, understanding that it's going to compound over time. And when it compounds towards the end of it, his returns are going to be exponential. It's going to be, unbelievable returns, right? But just think about this, 15 years, his wealth was actually 81.5, it grew by $81.5 billion in the last 15 years. That's the beauty of compound interest. Next slide, Drew. Yeah, we talk about price, and it's funny, we've had our meetings and we've talked about, how things are valued. Understand that everything has a price, whether it's free or whether it's paid, it's a price. It doesn't matter, if somebody's charging for it or not. You're going to either pay with money, or you're going to pay with time, or you're going to pay with relationships. So everything does have a price. We need to be cognizant of what price we're paying for it. For example, we're very appreciative of you being here in this meeting, but you're paying a price. Even though this is free, you're paying a price by giving your time, devoting your evening to this talk, right? If you join a mentorship, if you join a course, you're paying your price by actually paying money. There's always a price involved, no matter what you do. Similar for investment, right? You're going to be to invest the right way. Like over here, you're learning how to say underwrite, or you're learning about this money mindset for that matter. You're paying with time to learn these skills so that you can go ahead and invest. Similarly, like I'd mentioned, you could have paid for a mentorship and you could have learned how to invest. So I think that's something that you really need to understand. And as people grow, People try to pay for things because they want to buy back their time. So they don't want to pay with their time. They want to pay with money because that's easier. And then they can leverage that time to do other higher value tasks to actually earn more money. Next slide, Drew. All right. I've always maintained this, if you're thinking of multifamily, think long term. This is not for now money. This is for future money. You always need to plan for the future. Think of your long-term goals. Think of what your grand vision is and work according to that. Within our internal team as well, that's how we started. We started with a vision of what we wanted to achieve, and then we kind of traced our steps back to see what we need to do now to eventually get to that goal. So in multifamily, especially thinking long-term, thinking of long-term threats, thinking of future, what you expect the market to be like, that's really important. If you need now money, then you need to be playing a different game, which is not going to be multifamily. So especially in multifamily, thinking long-term is very, very important. Next slide. So, I touched upon this a little while ago. People in different phases of their business are going to be playing different games. Like I mentioned, insurance companies, they are in the business of cash preservation. So their investments are very, very conservative, right? Warren Buffett would have conservative investments or very selected investments based on his investment goals, right? Somebody who's a very big operator would have different investment goals based on their bandwidth, based on their war chest that they have, based on their investment strategy, their goals, right? And they may not be the same as your goals. If you're looking for growth and you're emulating somebody who's looking for preservation, then it's going to be a mismatch. You may think that, they've reached their wealth by doing certain steps and, they're continuing to do those steps, but that may not necessarily be the case. You may be following a completely wrong strategy, which is working great for them, but may not work for you. So you need to understand that what game you're playing and what game is the other person playing and whether that's the right game for you or not. Next slide, Drew. All right. I think we got to talk about, multifamily freedom chasers community here, because honestly, this is where you can get a lot of knowledge, a lot of information, and understand what game you want to play, right? You can be a passive investor. Say you're a busy individual. You don't want to, be an active operator, or you just don't feel like that's a good fit for you. And I think being passive is a different game. It's very different from being an active investor. The questions you're going to be asking are going to be very different from what I'm asking. For me as an active operator, there'll be much more detailed questions than what a passive investor would be asking, or the things that a passive investor would be actually engaging in, right? If you are an active operator, for that matter, you're going to have very different questions. Like you'll have questions for your team, you'll have questions for your third-party vendors, you'll have questions for so many other people. And so it's going to be a different game completely. So you got to decide. But the beauty of this community is that you can get all the information that you need and then make an educated decision on what you want to do. Next slide, Drew. And we're very thankful to the Freedom Chasers. They've actually created these relationships. Again, like I mentioned, leveraged other people and created these relationships to get these partners, preferred partners, who share their knowledge, their experience through their programs that are offered, at the website that's mentioned, freedomchaserscapital.com/partners. Next slide, Drew. And, if you want to continue learning for free and, what we're giving you, we really don't try to, hold anything back. We try to open up the curtains and show everything that we've got, because honestly, I think knowledge is really important, and getting high quality knowledge is very important. I've been lucky to get that. I've had to pay a lot of money for it, but we're happy to share that, share the knowledge that we have with you. Sunday we talk about, we have the activator Zooms. Monday, there are broker talks like broker calls and stuff. On Tuesdays, it's all about underwriting, which is a very essential thing to understand how to actually evaluate a property, how to run the financials, how to run the numbers. And, alternating Wednesdays, it's either about debt or it's my team. And we're talking about, we're doing a whole series on multifamily. We've already talked about, getting the team ready. And now we're talking about mindset. And then there are going to be many more fun modules coming up in the future.
There's actually a new series starting alternating Mondays.
Oh, that's right.
With Iffy and Bibi talking about asset management for multifamily, starting this coming Monday, the 25th.
Okay. And that's my team. So, I lead the team and I'm in charge of investor relations. If you're an accredited investor, you want to invest with us, please feel free to reach out to me. My head underwriter is Andrea Garcia. She's phenomenal. She has, over 1,700 equity position in over 1,700 doors. She's been in real estate for the last 5 years. She's overseen over $1 billion of transactions. Drew, who's actually on the call, he's the head of our asset management. He talks to the property managers and deals with that stuff. Antoine is our local guy in Columbus, and that's our market where we invest. And my ideology is to only invest in markets where we have somebody who's locally, physically present there, because God forbid something happens to any of our assets or anything happens, I want to make sure that we have somebody who can get to it immediately. And that's, again, understanding that there's a risk there that we're taking by investing in X, Y, and Z state, but we are putting in checks and balances so that we can minimize the risk that our assets may have. And now we open up for questions. I would really love to know what you guys got from this, because I know it's a topic that sort of sounds like a lot of fluff, and people don't take it very seriously. But I'll be honest, I was like that too. And then when I really started understanding mindset and started understanding what really, the importance of mindset, it was a game changer for me, because it really helps you become a better businessman.
Feel free to raise your hands or just go off mute if you've got a question. Or just anything you've learned yourselves as you've shifted from a employee mentality to an entrepreneur mentality. Anything that you've learned about money mindset. Avishkar, I was wondering actually, so as specifically within the multifamily world, as a lot of people are kind of coming here because they, I think, have heard that it's a faster or more exponential growth way to build wealth in real estate than say single family. How would you advise someone who's kind of new and getting started to uses the sort of mindset stuff that we're talking about tonight as they are approaching a entirely new segment of real estate world to them?
I've had these conversations with investors in the past, and they've asked me, well, I need money now, and multifamily seems lucrative. Well, these people have, like, X, Y, and Z person has these many $1 million of assets under management, and I think I want to get involved in this. And I say, what are your investment goals? Do you need now money or do you need future money? Because if you need now money, this may not be the right game for you. Again, it's about just not following somebody that you see who's super successful, because they've had their journey, right? You only see this, they only surface, or their success only surfaces after a certain period of time. They've been, for example, even if you talk about Pace Morby, right? He's been in this industry for over 10 years in real estate. We're only seeing him now because of the massive success he's had over 10 years. So now his journey is different from what it was 10 years ago. Similarly, for anybody who's super successful. So I think understanding that and understanding what your goals are in terms of your investment is what's going to drive that decision. So in my opinion, if you need now money, I don't think multifamily is the right space. If you need, but that being said, there's a caveat because there are different things that you can do within multifamily. Like being an operator is a lot of work and it requires a lot more understanding and learning and a lot, developing that trust than with single family, right? The availability of single family is much more than of larger multifamily assets. So it's easier to get into single family. It's quicker because obviously the inventory is much larger. So it's a faster moving product. So it's really it depends upon your investment strategy.
All right, anyone else? Any last questions? Dana backs us up. The truth.
I would love to know how you guys found this talk, because honestly, feedback is good. If you think that this was shit, just say that, because I really would love to know that. Honestly, feedback is key, and for us to improve and for us to grow, I would love to know.
Yeah, no, I kind of came on a little late at the tail end of it, but everything I caught is like, I mean, it's super duper on point. So you're like a man of knowledge, and I've been like following you in like certain other groups, and it's like, yeah, you're not just talking, you're just living it. So I mean, everything is it's helpful.
Thanks.
Yeah, thank you.
I try, man. I try.
Mm-hmm.
It is always bringing the positivity.
It's all how you look at it in life. Even when you have a bad day or a bad situation, you got to always take the goodness out of it. You got to always look at it in like a positive light, and the way that you view it is the way it's going to always happen and come.
That is true. That is true, man. I see that a lot of people are off camera. Why is that? Why are people camera shy today?
No.
Guys, you got to turn your cameras on.
I think everyone's
Thank you for coming in, Dana.
nice studio lighting, Avishkar. Since you set up your studio looking all good. I remember when there was an exercise bike in the background, and
yeah, I had to, well, so that's the thing, right? You gotta play, like I mentioned, you gotta play iterated games, right? You gotta keep experimenting and keep playing multiple games. This background originally there. Then I changed the background to get rid of this and have my, the whole room available to me. I used to actually sit and record my podcast, which changed to me standing and recording. So it's been like multiple changes that keep occurring and keep, happening, so that I get better each time I do it. So I got actual feedback based on, this background not being there, and people didn't really like it. So I said, okay, let's get this thing back on. And so that's how you, even it's simple things like a podcast, like that's how you improve, right? Because overall it's improving the quality of the product that I'm delivering. I'm actually listening to people who are consuming it, and they're saying, okay, fine, you need to do this, this, and this. And you just do that. So.
Well, that's the iterative game slide. So just way back here.
Yeah, that's the one. Mm-hmm.
All right, everyone. Anyone have any deals they're working on?
Anybody have any thoughts?
Share with us tonight?
Anybody have any thoughts they want to share? I guess I've put everybody into deep thought.
Who's out there checking their bank accounts, reconsidering their approaches? All right, folks. Well, we've got upcoming sessions further on this mindset series that we are doing. This is the first of a three session series on mindset. Tonight was obviously thinking about money. Next time, 2 weeks from now, is networking opportunities, how to connect with people and make the most use of wherever you are to further your business. And then 2 weeks after that, mid-October, we are doing investor branding. So lots of exciting stuff about setting up your business to be to reach the most people, both from you personally and your business overall. And we've covered the multifamily stuff that's coming up. So we hope to see you on more of these. Thanks everyone for joining tonight. And
I hope you guys enjoyed it. Please do comment in the Facebook group and let us know how we're doing. We're always looking for feedback, positive or negative. Everything helps because that's how we improve.
folks, y'all have a good night. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks, Dana. Bye, guys.